Kate Barnes, SVP of Global Content Scripted here at ITV Studios, Richard Tulk-Hart from Buccaneer Media, and Pablo Conde, Director General of Internationalization at ICEX Spain and Investment. Thank you very much, all you guys, for joining us. It's great to have you with us. So first of all, co-production obviously has become increasingly popular model in TV drama recently. What do you think is driving this trend? First of all, Kate, how do you see it evolving over the next few years when it comes to co-production?
I mean, there's always been co-production, particularly sort of countries coming together to fund sort of higher end drama. I think what's obviously happening, a couple of things. Production budgets are going up, and fundamentally they're harder to finance. So that's where a co-production model definitely comes in. And then also, you've got sort of successful streamers in markets who are wanting, local for local. It's incredibly important. So, what works very well in the UK is UK content. So having a sort of partnership alongside the broadcaster in the home territory also makes that co-production relationship within territory really important. So it's a funding opportunity. It's a building something bigger than maybe you can afford on your own, because a storyline naturally works across multiple territories.
Yeah. How about you, Pablo? How do you see this co-production trend developing? Is that something that you've seen from a Spanish perspective?
I think it's, as Kate was saying, it's something that is happening a lot, both for the storytelling part of view, because you have it with co-production, two sides of the same story, and also from the funding point of view. And also having those international successes, local, that have gone global, reduces fear in everyone, because they see that a local product can go global. And I think that's something that is helping a lot. You have several cases in Spain, like Elite or Money Heist, that are driven those opportunities. So I think that's a trend that will be more stable, and then because of higher prices, because of that necessity for storytelling that is global, but also because of the financial point of view. And I think in that case, tax incentives also play a high role, both for US dramas that are being shot here in Europe, or also because you have the tax incentive for the European film features.
Yeah, and we're going to come back to talk a little bit about incentives in Spain and what you're doing to attract more co-productions. Richard, from a producer perspective, how do you see the growing importance of co-productions? Is it something? I mean, I know it's something that you're very much involved with at Buccaneer, but yeah. How have you seen that develop maybe over the last 5 years or so?
It's largely driven by necessity. Producers, on the whole, are relatively selfish people, so if they didn't have to work with other partners, they probably would choose not to. Yeah. But at the same time, I don't sit in that camp. It is largely driven by necessity. I mean, the budgets have, over the last 5 years, to say that they've increased exponentially is not an exaggeration. I mean, the costs at every factor have been driven way higher.
And that's due to interest rates and lots of external factors as well.
There's a lot of external factors. Yeah. There is general inflation in the world, coupled with an inflation in the industry that is beyond inflation in the world. And, a lot of that has been driven by the demand that there's been. And I would say now, for the first time, when we were making The Crow Girl with ITV, it was the first time we started to see that inflation was not as rampant as it has been. And it felt a little bit more possible to control a show. That said, in the landscape of co-productions, like both of you have been pointing out, there is the tax incentives, which you can access best via co-production. There's the Creative Europe end of things, which requires a UK producer to be partnered with somebody to be able to access it. And so it just comes back to the necessity. And you can't make a really high-end drama for less than a certain amount, and that certain amount has got too high to do it on just a broadcaster and a distributor in general.
Yeah. Okay. So Pablo, coming back to you, I mean, in terms of Spanish local productions, we've seen a lot of investment from Amazon, for example, and Netflix, and some very popular series come out of the country. What advantages does Spain offer then for potential international partners? and how does ICEX support the industry in your country?
So the advantages are a lot of them. You can summarize it, I would say, in 4 points. I would say the tax incentives are some of them, because you have both cashback when we're talking about foreign producers shooting in Spain, or you have a tax rebate also for those co-productions. And those tax incentive goes with a lower 30% with the minimum, and in certain regions you go up to 50% or 60%. So it's very interesting, and I think it's very competitive compared to other countries. And it's a system that has been going on for more than 10 years, improving itself every time. And I think that's what provides for those streamers and to go to Spain and shoot in Spain. For example, in 2022, you have more shows shooted in Spain than in the UK. You had 34 shows when you had only 32 in the UK. So
Wow.
it's a turn back on that position. I think that's very important. And whereas every big streamer was closing their production centers in Europe, in Spain they were growing. You have the production center of Netflix. Amazon Prime is producing a lot over there because Spanish content is working pretty much everywhere. And ICEX is helping both by promoting the Spanish content abroad, by promoting co-production, because for us it's very important co-production, because we are aware that those streamers have less money and that necessity of co-production is bigger and bigger every time. And because we have also those tax incentives that are really great for the companies. And we have the talent, which is very important and no one talks about, because incentives, everyone has tax incentives, but if you don't have the talent, you don't have the combination.
You mean local production talent?
Local production talent, yeah.
Yeah. And just briefly, when it comes to these tax incentives, how do you actually unlock them? Because, it sounds, is it straightforward, or is it a really long bureaucratic process, which I think some people might fear that...
It's public, so you have a bureaucratic part of it, but I would say that it's true that it takes some time, and some people complain that it does take sometimes. If you do it by the beginning of the year, it takes to the next year's fiscal year to have those incentives. But you have a lot of operators, both national and international, that are willing to monetize beforehand those incentives. So I think that part is really okay. It's like any other system at the end, that you have the tax incentives.
Yeah.
You get the money as fast as you want. If you want to monetize it, you have it better, faster, and if you don't want to monetize it, you'll have it by next year.
Yeah, and I know ICEX is you've got a drive as well for making it easier for international producers to come to Spain, haven't
Yes,
you?
and we have a one-stop shop, that is the Spain Audiovisual Bureau, that we help for free, both in Spanish and English, those producers that want to come to Spain to shoot or that are looking for a co-producer. And we'll give the answer in 48 hours if it's quite easy, or by 7 days if it takes a little bit longer.
Right.
And if you're looking for co-production or tax incentive, we do also have a list of curated tax lawyers that are really important, because at the end we're a public entity and it depends on the complexity of the program and the project that would give you the advice you need for that co-production or shooting in Spain.
Richard, coming back to you, international co-productions like So Long Marianne, which is a new show that's has just come out in various territories. When you're working with multiple partners from a broadcaster perspective, how on earth do you align them all? Because to me, it sounds like a logistical nightmare, because everybody involved as a co-production partner from a network perspective has a different viewpoint and obviously wants to have a certain input. How do you manage that from a production perspective?
It's very good training for my second career in politics. I would say it's not possible to align everybody. It's just not, and you have to accept that when you go into a co-production. But going into a co-production with multiple producers or multiple commissioners, they're slightly different things, but both of them require the same sort of ability to understand people's different cultures is a really important one. How we do things in the UK is not necessarily how Spain does things. And so when you're going into those partnerships, you do need to know these people. You can't just go because they're a company and they offer the ability to go there. You've got to get to know people before you go into a co-production, because if you don't, I promise you, you will find trouble. And you've got to be able to have an argument and sit down on the same day and have a beer. You've got to be able to understand that one person putting in more money doesn't mean that they have the only voice in the room. If there's money from all different parts, which for So Long Marianne, which launched on ITVX last week, we had Norwegian, Canadian, German, Belgian, UK money all at the same time, all with a different perspective on a story that people think they knew, and you have to listen to them to a degree. But as the lead producer, you've also got to have a strong voice that says, this is the show we're making, and you bought into that. And it's just a balance. It's just, at the end of the day, it's about having a level of respect for each other. And if you can manage that, you should be able to make a decent show.
Yeah, and be a politician in a
and be a politician, yeah.
So, Kate, ITV Studios obviously are leading in global drama production. How do you approach finding the right co-production partners? I mean, what are you looking for when you're considering a collaboration?
Well, I think it's exactly what Rich said. I mean, it's ultimately it's a people business, and so you've got to get on with the people. You know, there are two types. There's a co-production where, you know, producers are co-producing, and then there's also kind of financing co-producers as well.
Yeah.
And when we're, you know, it's not only that you like the people, but we want to make the same show. So, you know, you pitch the show to, you know, we've got the show, it's been commissioned by XYZ, do you want to be the co-producer on it? They've got to understand the show, they've got to spend time with the commissioner, with the writer, you've got to know that we're making the same show, that everyone wants the same aim at the end of the day, and like you say, listen to their perspective as well, but ultimately get all those questions and all that out on the table before you start. You know, what is the expectation? Who's going to transmit first? Who's going to be allowed to put their press release out? Can you put it out at the same time? Are you going to be on the press release? You know, what's the branding going to be? Who gets the credits? Like, there's a lot of stuff. Just get it out right at the beginning and know that you want to make the same show, and know that the producer and the two broadcasters are going to get on, because it's a long road.
Yeah, I mean, it's remarkable. I've seen that how often that doesn't happen. You know, when those conversations are really had at the beginning of a project, and you do, you know, see those problems coming down the line, and you know, there's so many kinks in the road that don't need to be there.
Yeah, because you can't ever account for absolutely everything, but through experience of doing them, we've come across some kinks, and we've learnt the next time you go, right, we're going to discuss right at the beginning who gets what credit at what point. And,
I think experience
you know,
is the key bit there, because you've got to work out what's a problem and what's not a problem.
Yeah.
And I think with inexperience, problems become big problems very quickly when actually they're not.
Yeah, you've got to choose your hill to die on, and
You do.
and the ones that you've got to just wave through.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So streamers have become involved in co-productions increasingly in the last few years. What new opportunities and challenges has that led to for ITV Studios?
well, I mean, we've done a number of streamers, and I think there's the concept of a global streamer and there's the concept of a local streamer. So obviously we've had co-productions with global, sort of like, you know, The Serpent was, you know, it was a while ago, but that was, you know, Netflix and BBC. But then we've also, you know, we have had After the Flood, which has been an ITV and a BritBox. So that's, you know, and they're different entities, because one's, you know, multiple territories, one's a single territory, and you're answering, you know, someone wants to go day and date, that is more of a challenge, day and date with multiple languages, all got to be ready at the same time. And then some, you know, it's maybe not day and date, so that gives you different challenges. So I think, you know, streamers are hugely important to all of us in every aspect of our business, and they have been part of co-productions in different ways, and continue to be. Mentioned about local for local, you know, wanting to be second window or sometimes first window with the host broadcaster. So it happens a lot in Spain. You know, we have one in France at the moment that's happening between Arte and HBO. So, you know, they are taking different roles in different projects, and that is evolving.
Yeah. Do you feel that the rise in co-productions is affecting the types of stories that are being told around the world?
No, I don't think that. I think there've always been stories. You have hyper-local stories that travel. So I mentioned After the Flood. It's a very British specific, but it works incredibly well in America. And, you know, it's going to be on France very soon and lots of other territories. And they can be very local, and they still work very well internationally, I think. And then we've told bigger stories like, you know, say Bodyguard or Vigil, or, you know, these bigger sort of stories that have got more of a global DNA to them, that were always going to be made. It's just they fit more naturally as well with sort of international. So I don't think that's changed the stories. I think what might change is, as budgets go up, is that if you need a co-producer to finance your show, which is not every show. I mean, we still, do the license fee, tax and distributor model a lot. If you absolutely cannot make the show without some big injection, then there are some stories, obviously, which are less naturally leaning towards a co-production.
Yeah.
And that's the only sort of difference. I don't think we'll change the types of stories. The trick will be is the budgets that you maybe can make some very, very specific project. But that's always been the same everywhere, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think whenever you need distributor money to finance the show, a very, very hyper local that is too specifically local, you'll always need to look at how you're financing it.
Yeah.
What's your budget?
Yeah. Pablo, coming back to you, I mean, Spain, country of honour, MIPCOM 2024. So we're seeing lots of news about Spain and Spanish productions and the industry as a whole here. Tell us a little bit about what ICEX is doing then to help drive these more co-productions and more investment and also export when it comes to Spain and the audiovisual industry.
So we're having co-production get-togethers. For example, we have here in MIPCOM with the Korean delegation, with the Argentinian delegation. We participate also in other markets such as Series Mania or co-production markets, or here or in the film industry, also in Maxedo Film. We are working there, and we have been working for the last 3 years because we have the Spain Audiovisual Hub of Europe plan for the last 3 years. And for us, it's very important to help that co-production in giving information to all the partners that you have a big Spanish industry that has come a level up, I would say, during the last 3 years, that we have bigger and bigger players being able to talk to the streamers face-to-face without being ashamed, I would say, because they were too small. And now we have here, you can see them in MIPCOM, that they are becoming bigger players in the content producing, but also in the service producing. We have been working with them, with fam trips, we have a curated event both in the UK in November and in the US in December, in order to show the benefits of shooting and co-producing with the Spanish companies. Or in content in London, we also do a breakfast with Spanish and UK producers, because we believe there is a lot of future in co-production, and because of bigger budgets or because of locally, worldwide stories that need to be told in a co-production model way also.
Yeah. So the news is that Spain is really doubling down when it comes to inviting import and export when it comes to.
Yes, because for us it's very important. We were having with Parrot Analytics some numbers about the sector, and in revenues for the streamer platforms, the Spanish produced content has become $5.1 billion in the last 4 years. If you look at the numbers of how many shows produced in Spain are being watched, it increased by 40% in the US and Canada. In the last year, 73% in Europe, which is big numbers because they were already being watched a lot. And we are not talking about Money Heist or Berlin, which are the ones that everyone knows about. We're talking about the Red Dame, for example, or other shows that have become really, really strong. We have around 200 shows that went to top 10% of the streaming platforms in the last 3 years, which is a lot. We are not talking about one show. 200 shows is a lot because the Spanish content works really well pretty much everywhere because we have the talent, and that talent is what is needed in order to go global.
And many people forget that the Hispanic market in the United States is almost, the population is almost bigger than the UK, for example, so it's a really serious market.
Yeah, it's true, and the Latin American market is also a big one. And I think with Money Heist and the streaming platforms was the first time that our titles didn't have to be doubled to Latino. And everyone is willing to listen to Spanish content and not Latino content, and I think that's a big opportunity for the production of shows in Spain.
Yeah. Richard, we've seen a huge downturn in the US with the scripted industry in particular. Have you seen that affect the market in Europe, and in which case, how?
Yes, I mean, the US not being online, the US not being healthy is not healthy for the industry, full stop. So, I think a lot of people felt when there was the writers' strike and these sorts of things going on, that this was going to benefit European producers, particularly UK producers, and that wasn't the case. The US needs to be healthy for the industry to be healthy, and at the moment, we all know what's going on. There's a lot less being spent and a lot less being commissioned, and whether it's pre-buys or distributors coming on early with the hope of a US number, I think that there's a moment in time here where the realistic approach is there may not be a number against a US sale, which is tough, and so you've got to adapt to that. And again, I think to the world's changed, and co-production is there to help this. Is you've got to be able to make a show for a number at the moment, and that I would say that number is less than £2 million an episode for a big drama, and if you want to go bigger than that, you're looking at either going to an SVOD worldwide, or you've got the US coming in and back online, which at the moment it doesn't feel like it's fully back online. No, but it will come back.
You think so? I mean, you're
yeah, I do. I mean, it's everyone talks about cyclical industries, and this is one of those. I think it's fair to say that I've never seen it as bad as it is or has been for the last year in my few years of doing this. But it's an enormous industry. It's too big to fail.
Yeah.
And it will come back. And I think we've had a period of years of making hay, and there was probably too much being made, and there were probably too many production companies, and that was various reasons why that happened when it did happen. But
this feels a bit more like more than a belt tightening. Right
yeah,
now,
I think this is a change in the industry. I think this is a fundamental shift to something that is going to look different when it settles. And by different, I think it will be smaller. I think that you're going to find it harder to get commissions, but there may be a bit more rigor as well that comes in, which I think, again, was needed, because the industry survives on shows of quality, not on volume of shows. Yeah. And that bit needs to come back a bit more, I think. But the UK market is, it's still pretty healthy. I mean, there's commissions are happening. I mean, we've got commissions. There's Channel 4 is spending money, ITV is spending money, the BBC is, Sky is, and then you've got your local SVODs. So, that is a bit of a shift. If you're a producer that has gone down the road of, I'm only going to make shows over £4 million for the SVOD services, and that's what you've been doing for the last few years, then you're in a bit of trouble. If you've diversified, or if you've kept looking after what is now sort of called traditional broadcasters, but broadcasters, and you know how to make shows in that sort of range, and it just depends on what people chose to do.
Yeah, yeah. And you say that the companies are commissioning. Have you seen an improvement in that then in the last 6 months or so?
In the UK?
Yeah.
It's in a way, I don't think the UK has really felt the effects that other territories have. It's remained pretty healthy on the commissioning front. I would say it's slower. I think that's fair to say. Decisions are taking a bit longer. Obviously, the advertising market is, that's troubling, I think, for the future. But equally, there are many different ways to get things financed these days. And if you've been around the international space rather than just a producer in the UK, and Buccaneer, the model of the company is stories for everybody in all parts of the world, and that comes about through having done international for 25 years or whatever it is. There are many routes to getting these things financed, and it's for me interesting working with other cultures, and getting that feed into a script can really benefit it done in the right way.
Yeah. Kate, what's your outlook then for the industry? You know, when it comes to scripted and co-productions and the industry as a whole over the next 12 months or so.
Yeah, well, I would echo what we said. We've got a really healthy slate. We've got some fabulous projects that we've both brought to market this time and that have been commissioned in the last month. You know, I'm constantly being pitched by producers, by shows that are in development at the main broadcasters, both in the UK and abroad. There is budgets are going up. That budgets have gone up and are carrying up. That is the biggest challenge, because there is just less money. The ad market has been affected with everybody. The streamers obviously are retrenching down to look at profit rather than sort of like quantity. So yes, there are stretches in the market, but in terms of brilliant talent still exists, brilliant storytelling still exists, commissioners still commissioning still exists. The funding model is the bit where we have to all pull together and really sort of put our heads together about how we're going to make these shows a reality. And that's really both a challenge, but it's also an opportunity. It's about good relationships kicking in. It's about knowing that you're much broader than your own domestic borders. You need to look aside. And that might come from a co-production, that might come from a pre-sale, that might come from a distributor model, that might come from incentives. It's about looking at all of them, looking at your own production model, looking at, do I need 20 locations or can I survive on 15 locations? You know, it's down to all of us to make sure that we continue the health of a really, really strong and vibrant scripted market. And from my conversations, from what I'm experienced, that's what's happening.
Yeah.
So I'm very positive about it, but it does, you know, it's a collaboration.
Yes.
It is. Relating. You've got to understand your partner's problems, and obviously, we speak the whole time. What distributors are finding difficult at the moment is different to what producers are finding difficult at the moment. And as long as everyone's aware of each of those areas, I think you can work with the right partners. You can find your way through, and everyone needs to give a little bit and help each other out at the moment, rather than trying to kill each other.
Collaboration, that's it.
Collaboration.
Here we go.
Exactly.
Well, everybody's sitting around a table, and obviously lots of people are doing that all the time at MIPCOM, and many of you are doing that 10, 15 times a day with different partners. It's extremely busy. I know you've all got to dash. One final question, though. Pablo, what advice would you give producers then looking to work specifically with Spain on co-productions? What would be your single piece of advice to them?
I would say, if you are here in MIPCOM, come to our stand. If not, talk to us with the Bureau, the Spanish Audiovisual Bureau, because you will have all the help you want. And think a little bit out of the box in that funding problem you do have. We have a lot of experience with the tax incentives. We have great opportunities with our crews that are really international. We don't have a visa, for example, for less than 90 days, which is really important, and we do have a visa for more than 90 days. But if you have been shortening your periods of shooting, you will have more than enough with 90 days. And it's quite easy. We have the locations, a very well-connected country. You can go pretty much. Saying that to the UK is easy, because you come to Spain for holidays and you know how well-connected we are, both to the UK, but within Spain with our high-speed rail, we have very good connections everywhere. You can be pretty much all over Spain in less than 3 hours by a high-speed train, which is a lot of opportunities. We have been doing this for more than 70 years, that we started with the spaghetti westerns. And we do speak English, so it's not so difficult.
Much better than many of us. Richard, any final pieces of advice for any producers entering into the co-production moment? And you talked there about collaboration is obviously key.
Yeah, I think you just got to go into it with an open mind. I mean, problems arise. It will forever be a difficult thing to make a show. I would just go back to what I said earlier, which is make sure you know who you're getting into bed with. Yeah. And it will make life a lot easier.
Yeah. Okay, finally, any more pieces of advice from you for co-productions?
No, I think it's relationships at the end of the day. Exactly. It's exactly that. Just know what you're trying to achieve. Have a vision as a producer, but be adaptive maybe with your commissioning partners. I mean, your co-producing partner is like your commissioner. You've just got two commissioners. And if
Yeah.
that is something to sort of like hold fast to, is that if you're going to enter that relationship, that's what they are. They're
Yeah.
two commissioners. And that's not always balanced evenly, so it's slightly different, but they are essentially you have two
Yeah.
commissioners
And know what you're getting into.
to know what you're getting into.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me today. I know you've all got a dash and seal more deals, so thank you so much for joining us.